When you're having a conversation with someone, you're exchanging words to represent ideas in your mind. So when you exchange words with someone, there is an interface, but that interface may not always line up 100% with what's actually going on in the minds of the two people having the conversation. So in a way, I do think that Go really feels like hand talk sometimes, because when I'm playing a game, sometimes I will wonder, what is this person thinking with that move? And the only way to find out is to keep playing. And I think I really enjoy that kind of subtext that can happen during a game of Go. The games I've been playing recently, sometimes I would think about a move and I would just play my move with a certain line of thought. And then when my opponent responds, I would take a moment and think, I really wonder what is going on in your head right now. I see I see a little bit of it from the move that you played, but I don't know all of it. And I think that's such an interesting little aspect of Go. Welcome to Start Point, the show about Go for Go fans away from the board. And a few weeks ago, something interesting happened to me. I played a game in which I lost, and I sent that game to a teacher of mine for a review. And when the teacher reviewed the game, he came back to me with, "This player is cheating." And I was surprised. I didn't, during the game, have any suspicion of cheating. I haven't had any cheating that I'm aware of in the past. So when I learned that my teacher thought this player was cheating, I was honestly quite surprised. So I wondered why, and my teacher said that basically the moves, when analyzed through AI, have too few mistakes for a player of this level. And I don't actually have experience detecting cheaters, and I don't know exactly what to look for. So I just thought I'd throw it in AI Sensei to see if I could see any obvious thing about the way my opponent played. And to be honest, it wasn't super obvious, but actually when I look at the error of the moves and I compare it to other games, what I found was basically like 4 mistakes. On a AI Sensei, at least, there's a 9P level analysis, and basically throughout the entire game, my opponent made only 4 mistakes that the AI felt was big enough to point out. And I thought, okay, well, what if I played in such a way that mistakes were, not going to happen as often? And I looked at some other games, and I found that there were no other games I found in my record that had a player who made that few mistakes. So I thought, okay, you know what? There might be something here. So I went ahead and reported the player, but I got no resolution out of it. I'm not going to push it very far. Because I don't actually know about how to prove whether someone's cheating or not. And that's something that's so difficult about this problem. We're going to talk about cheating in general today. We're going to also look at some cases of cheating in the professional world. But I want to spend a little time talking about why it's so hard to detect a cheater. The thing is with cheating in Go, cheating, let's first of all define it as using outside assistance for a game. So let's say I am playing a game. If I am getting information, whether it's from an AI or another person about the game, then that would be considered as cheating. Some people, I guess the only exception may be if you're playing a game and you're looking up Joseki. To an extent, there are certain people who find that acceptable, and I think sometimes that is allowed to be able to look up standard Joseki during a game, which I personally don't think I'm such a big fan of. I think that kind of deadens your ability to learn Joseki and how to appropriately use each Joseki in each situation. I would raise an eyebrow about that, and I think it's illustrated in that Hikaru no Go scene where I remembered his name, Kimihiro. he's using his book during the game, and he exclaims, "What? Don't judge me. It's not against the rules." And maybe that's the case in some situations, but I don't know. I feel like it's kind of weird to me. I honestly don't know that many people who do that, although I guess I can't really tell through correspondence games alone because I don't see what they're doing. But I just assume, if you're going to use Joseki aid in your game, then that's going to basically bump your strength up a bit, and you're going to basically be a little more dependent on it. And then so let's say one day you're playing a game of Go and you don't have your Joseki resource, then how strong are you? Weaker as a player, and are you okay with that? If you are, then maybe that's okay. Anyway, so going back to the issue of cheating, AI assisted, someone else assisting, even a little bit, even just one move, or just, hey, I think that that corner over there is looking a little spicy. Even something that, like that kind of kibitzing, would be considered some level of cheating. So the difficulty lies in the fact that in order to cheat, you really only have to cheat a tiny bit, and then you've cheated in the game, and the game is now unfair. But how can you really, like, just looking at the moves on the SGF, analyzing through AI, if I decide, oh, this situation on the board, I really don't know what to do, and I'm going to go ahead and consult AI for this situation. I look at the AI evaluation and I say, oh, I didn't realize this part of the board was so important right now. And then you go back to the game and you may not even make the AI move. You may make a different move addressing the same issue that you learned through the AI. So it's really easy to go fly under the radar when you're trying to cheat, because you can do it very sparingly. And so it's like near impossible, I would say, to analyze unless you're doing a very, from beginning to end, copying the AI moves level of cheating. It's really hard to detect. I watched a Gotham Chess video. If you don't know, he's a popular chess YouTuber, and he was talking about how cheating can be detected. And one of the games he was going over was one where someone cheated and he noticed no one would sacrifice their queen here because it's just an unintuitive move to play, and it is a very complex tactic to sacrifice your queen in that situation. So if you sacrifice your queen there, it's a very counterintuitive way to think, and it's not something a human would likely be able to figure out. And from that video, I thought about how maybe that's not as easy to detect in Go. There's no queen to sacrifice. There's no big move like that. I mean, the thing is, maybe there is a big capture that you let your opponent take, which could be a way to have a cheating incident be revealed where you sacrifice this huge number of stones that any professional would doubt would be a good thing to do. But I just don't think it's as easy to find those odd queen sacrifices in a Go game analysis. And so it's really hard, I think, to detect cheating. So, and I sympathize with whoever was looking at the report that I made, looking at the game, looking at the history of that player, and really trying to figure out, do I know 100% that this person cheated? Because if I'm wrong and I ban this player and they've just been playing a normal game, that is really bad, right? Imagine you're playing OGS one day and you're just you're just having fun playing Go, and suddenly a moderator comes up to you and says, yeah, we think you're cheating, so we're gonna delete your account. Sorry. And you're just kind of flabbergasted, like, I never cheated, I don't know what you're talking about. And that would be just such a huge bummer, right? So you wouldn't want to do that, and you would want to be very careful not to do something like that. So detecting a cheater is difficult in the first place, and then once you detect or have a suspicion about it, you really have to be sure beyond all doubt that this person has been cheating. So, I mean, it's a very difficult issue. And then the thing that's so poisonous and so bad about cheating in basically any competitive game, but let's talk about the context of online Go games is that once cheating starts, it just spoils the experience for everybody. You see this happening through any world where cheating has first been discovered. Look at what happened with the world of chess with Hans Niemann. They nearly lost their minds after someone suspected Hans Niemann of cheating, and now these cheating accusations are everywhere. If you look at their online play, there's tons of bots there, so you never know if you're playing at a high level. You never know if someone you're playing against is a bot or a human. And this creeps in not only just to the games involving the actual cheating, but the games that are perfectly fair and innocent. So these games now, when you're playing against a legitimate human player, you can't help but think sometimes, oh, is this person cheating? Because this is something that happens. And so it's kind of like lying. When you're friends with someone that you trust, you can go a long time with this person. Let's say you go many years with this person, trusting them and believing them about their word. And then one day you find out they lied about something very important. That shakes every other sentence with that person that they've said to you, and you no longer know if you can trust them or not. And so with cheating, it's the same thing. When someone cheats, you don't know if they're going to cheat again. And this is not just with that person, but with the entire community. You don't know who you're running into as a cheater. So every time someone cheats, it's adding this suspicion and doubt into the entire pool of players in the community. And so that's why it's such a hard issue to face, and it's such just a moral duty for all of us not to do it. There's only so much we can do. We can just try to play a fair game as much as we can and look out for any obvious signs of cheating and be very strict on that. But other than that, it's actually quite open for cheaters to just come and dismantle our community just by spreading cheating. So we're going to have to amp up our technological kind of advancements to see if we can detect more cheaters. I don't know if I have any good ideas at the moment. Luckily, I mean, the Go community is small enough that I don't know if that's that rampant to come across cheaters. Maybe someone on OGS or a different server who moderates can attest to whether or not cheating is very rampant or not. But it's a very difficult issue and difficult topic that I have no solution for. And I wanted to talk about some examples that happened in the professional world. I think notably, the one that comes to my mind, actually the one that comes to my mind is the accusation by Yang Dingxin, but I'm going to go over that a little later. The other one that comes up to my mind is the case of Kim Eun-ji. Now, if you don't know, Kim Eun-ji is one of the strongest female professional players. She is a player from Korea, and she actually recently overtook Chaejong in the Korean rankings, which is huge. I don't know if she still held it. I know she did overtake her at least for a bit, but I'm not sure what her status is right now. She lost to Chaejong actually in the Women's Cup in Korea, so she was not able to overtake her in there, but she did, she's up there. She's very strong, and she's younger than Chaejong. It was considered kind of a child prodigy. And when she was 13 years old, which was, I think, around 2020, and at the time she was a 2-dan professional, she was caught cheating. Well, her game had a 92% match with AI. And I don't actually know the details on how that's calculated, how a match is calculated with AI. But to give you some context, Shin Jin-seo would match like 87%. So basically she's matching at a higher rate than the strongest player in the world. And this stirred up the Go community, the professional Go community in Korea quite a bit. A lot of them commented on the situation and suspected her of cheating. A lot of people threw back saying, oh, if she's not cheating, this is terrible for her. Don't sully her name like this unnecessarily. And she was this rising star. She was this future of female Go, or just future of Go, I guess. And there was a big debate about whether she cheated. And Although she denied at first, she did later admit to cheating and actually wrote a letter of apology. There was actually a picture of it. It's written, and I think it's kind of cute because she's 13 years old and she wrote it in pencil on lined paper. It's not like a twit longer or anything like that. But I did take a screenshot of that and had it translated, and I wanted to read you the letter. This was, again, from 4 years ago. Hello, this is Kim Eun-ji. During an online match with Master Yi Young-gu, I was clicking around and accidentally opened the review mode where my game appeared. Without thinking, I looked at the reference diagram. I made a wrong decision at that moment because I wanted to win so badly. Afterward, when the masters and my mother asked me about it, I was too scared and frightened to tell the truth. I deeply regret my mistake. So, basically, her account of the situation is that she, I'm not sure, I guess maybe she was taking a break or she was basically looking at her phone and she found her game in the homepage on review mode and happened to see the AI evaluation for it. And maybe a bit of a stretch, not sure how much you want to believe about that. I guess, in my opinion, the part about her saying, I made a wrong decision at the moment because I wanted to win so badly, maybe I would say probably likely extends to her opening the app itself already. So, I don't know, that desire to win, reaching into her pocket, opening it up, and just quickly taking a look because she's maybe nervous and anxious about how the game is going and everything like that. That's something that probably happened, in my opinion. She, again, 13 years old, incredibly young. If you think about what kind of mistakes I made when I was 13 years old, I made way worse mistakes than this, and I'm no one to judge this 13-year-old for cheating at a game of Go when I, in school, cheated on my tests. I didn't do it a lot, but I did. I have done it, right? And so I deeply regret my mistake. I am truly sorry to Master Yi Young-gu, who has always been so kind to me. Hearing from my mother that Master Lee is more worried about me made me feel even more sorry. I sincerely apologize for causing pain to the national team's coach and the coaches who have cared for me so much. I also deeply apologize to the professional Go players and seniors for having caused such a significant disturbance. I'm very sorry for disappointing those who have helped me in various ways and those who have always supported me through messages on Go websites. And to the Go fans who love the game, I am truly sorry. I will take this incident as a lesson and promise never to engage in such behavior again. I will accept any punishment for my wrongdoing, and if given the chance, I will study even harder to become someone who can greatly contribute to Korean Go. Sincerely, Kim Eun-ji. So she did their standard apologies. She apologized to basically everyone she could think of. And what happened to her was she was basically suspended for a year by the KBA. And now there are differing views on this treatment. And, cheating is a very serious issue, especially in something like a professional game like Go. It's really how everyone makes their living, and it really depends on the players to keep an honorable community where none of this deceitful behavior is happening. So a suspension of 1 year by the KBA, some thought of it as too light of a treatment, and it kind of made sense along the lines of the fact that Kim Eun-ji is kind of the KBA's golden goose at this point, where she is rising as a star and she's a very strong player and she's up and coming, she's young, and they have a lot of hope in her. So this 1 year suspension by the KBA was something that people felt was a little too light. I don't know what others may have suggested to be a harsher punishment that is more fitting, but they have compared her treatment to other players' cheating incidents. For example, an amateur Korean player earlier that year, so this is not professional, but an amateur, was caught cheating, and he was sent to prison time for 1 year. That's I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, if you're cheating in a Go tournament and you're sent to actual prison, I don't know. I don't think so. Especially if you're an amateur, I don't think that's a suitable punishment. So I think there's a little bit of a weird double standard here. But I do want to point out a little difference here, a crucial difference, in fact. So this cheating incident, it was very much more explicit than that of Kim Eun-ji. He had a camera on his shirt and a Bluetooth earpiece. So I guess since it's an amateur player, easier to go under the radar with this kind of stuff. But, obviously he premeditated it. He went in planning on cheating and, established a very intricate plan to cheat. Whereas Kim Eun-ji, you could kind of write it off as like a lesser degree of cheating, where she spontaneously thought, oh, I'm struggling. I'm going to go whip out my phone and look at the analysis. So I think they are different situations. And then also, again, Kim Eun-ji, 13 years old. Yes, at that age, you do know that cheating is wrong. And especially as a professional in Go, this is something that you would have been conscious of your entire life training for. So it's not excusable, but at the same time, 13-year-olds are kids. Like they don't always have the best sense of right and wrong developed yet. And I don't know. My opinion is that it is good to be lenient on younger players. And then once they reach a certain, a little bit older, I think, then it should be absolutely there should be no lenience to cheating. Another case that happened even earlier in 2018 was by a professional by the name of Hong Sung-ji, and he was cheating in an online game in 2018. And his account of the situation was that he used it out of curiosity and that he didn't use it in major competitions. And an AI developer analyzed his games and confirmed that seemed to be the case. And so I don't think there was much disciplinary action. I wasn't able to find much on that. But it is also easier and maybe a little more forgiving about cheating online, which is a little bit of controversial thing. I think you got to be a little bold to try to cheat in person. It doesn't make it any better to cheat online, but I don't know. I think that's the thing about Hans Niemann, is that his cheating cases that were confirmed were of his online games on chess.com, and people might speculate like, he didn't do it in a serious competition. He was doing it on an online game. And so, it's debatable. It's very difficult. All of this stuff is very difficult to really have a fair view on. And then finally, the one that I mentioned earlier was the one of Yang Dingxin accusing Li Xuanhao of cheating. This was more of an accusation scandal of cheating, and this was huge. In 2022, Li Xuanhao defeated Shin Jin-seo for the 14th Chunlan Cup semifinal and entered into his career first international finals. And I remember at the time his skill was, he's kind of an older, I think he was approaching or in his 30s kind of player, and his skill was now starting to rapidly increase. And this just wasn't a typical thing that happens. People generally fall into a typical curve of skill level where they peak at a certain age and then they start to fall once they start reaching their 30s. So it was maybe rising suspicion for Yang Dingxin, and he questioned Li's honesty on the WeChat platform, which is a very popular social media platform in China, and accused Li of cheating. Here is a rough translation by a Reddit user, idevcg. And this is a post on WeChat from Yang Dingxin regarding Li Xuanhao. And he says, I wanted to post it tomorrow, but I'll post it now and then go to sleep. Xuanhao, I want to play a 20-game match with you. No washroom breaks allowed, no time limits, a game a day, in a room with no signals, and release the Kifu for all the games for everyone to judge. If everyone thinks I falsely accused you, then I will retire after my LG Cup finals. Are you brave enough to accept my challenge? Good night. Don't PM me. Reply in this thread. Big smiley face. So, very confrontational from Li Xuanhao. And a 20 game match. Look, if you're going to accuse someone of cheating, you can accuse them of cheating, but an ultimatum of 20 games with no bathroom breaks and, all these stipulations, I get it. You're trying to narrow down the possibility of any cheating, but come on. I mean, even if I wasn't cheating, I'm not going to be like, as a professional, I'm not going to agree to that, right? So it's very confrontational, very dramatic. After the aftermath of it was they, both obviously faced some backlash, right? Some criticism for Xuan Hao for maybe cheating, and then Yang for being so upfront about criticizing someone for cheating when he had no proof. And so the Chinese Go Association and the Chinese National Go team basically was very critical of Yang Dingxin, and he apologized and deleted his post. And there was, the Chinese Go Association never found that Li Xuanhao had cheated. And Yang Dingxin was banned from most professional games by the Chinese Go Association for 6 months. So this stuff goes both ways. There's all this, cheating going on one hand, and people are maybe getting away with it too much, maybe not getting punished enough, maybe not getting disciplined enough. And then on the other hand, there are people accusing others of cheating, and maybe those people were never cheaters to begin with. So it's a very complex issue, and I have no neat bow to tie on all this and solve the issue. So I would not be the one to ask, although I am doing a podcast episode on it. So I'm just raising the question so that maybe some of you can think about the issue and from both angles, obviously, and see what can be done as a solution for our community. So why do people cheat in the first place? Well, I think it's kind of different reasons for pros versus amateurs. I think for pros, there's a lot more on the line, and there's stress and pressure from a lot of different people, and maybe some even monetary gain incentives for professionals to cheat. For amateurs, especially lower level amateurs that really have nothing to gain in the professional world of Go, I think that curiosity and quote unquote fun might be given as reasons. Just maybe the feeling of power and dominance over a person. I don't know. It doesn't really appeal to me. I don't think it should appeal to anyone, but maybe these are some reasons why people cheat. It might be fun to just go online and bully someone because you can, and you have this powerful AI to do so. I don't know how long you would have fun doing that. I don't know why anyone would prolong that kind of behavior, but I think these are the only reasons I could really think of for people cheating. And these people, I think, are honestly missing out on the real beauty of the game and have lost sight of what's important about playing Go. So, I mean, it's a little bit sad that, there's always going to be people who do that, but I guess the best we can do is just try to play honest Go ourselves and just try to enjoy the game as much as we can without letting those kinds of people get in our way. Now it's time for the DDK Advice Corner, and the tip of the day is don't overconcentrate your stones and be efficient. Now, this might sound like some generic advice that you've heard a lot, but let's expand on this kind of advice and give some examples. Sometimes I see moves from DDKs where you might make sort of a base or jump or extension, and then they'll go back and fill the gap. Like, let's say you have a 3-space extension, and then you go in and fill in that last, that middle point to fill the gap and bridge that connection. So there are some valid scenarios for doing this, and obviously every rule has its exceptions, but oftentimes if you're going to be doing that kind of extension and then you're going back to fill in the gap, it's often very overconcentrated and not good to do so. Think about why we do a 1-space jump. We do a 1-space jump, and we learn to do a 1-space jump in our games because it's a way to reach your stones beyond where they are without going too slowly. If you wanted to go to a certain place with your stones and you just simply extended and connected against your stone, that would be considered over-concentrated and inefficient. So we do a one-space jump because it's more efficient. We can accomplish the same goals, and we can in fact accomplish more by doing a one-space jump rather than just a simple extension. And so if you do a one-space jump and then you go back in and fill in that one space, you really have not been efficient. You haven't taken advantage of the efficiency of the one-space jump. So if you find yourself making a certain shape and then trying to connect that shape together as if you just did like a step-by-step jump and jump, then maybe rethink it, and maybe you can use that your extended efficient shape to make an even more efficient shape. And so try looking for those opportunities with your shapes. Try not to play your stones too close together unless you're really fixing and defending weaknesses. So that is the DDK Advice Corner for today. Don't overconcentrate and try to be efficient. And now it's time for some listener mail. Michael writes, Dear Justin, I've been catching up on your podcast lately, and as always, you give us so much interesting food for thought that I just had to write in. Well, thanks so much, Michael. A few weeks ago, you asked about sites or apps that we use for Tsumego. One resource I use a lot is the Graded Go Problems for Beginners series by Keino Yoshinori. I purchased them in ebook from gobooks.com, and when using an ebook reader on my phone called Reasely, the books function as interactive, a nice halfway house between a book and an app, and works when I have no internet access, which is nice. Oh, that's really cool. So Reasely, that sounds like basically some kind of reading software that allows you to do some interactive stuff. That's perfect for Go stuff, so I might have to check that out. Here's a less useful example. With the help of a toothbrush and some rubbing alcohol, I recently got my 1989 Game Boy working again, and celebrated by spending a few bucks on Ishida Yoshio's Tsumego Paradise. The thing is gloriously dated and quite challenging, and plays an eerily slowed down version of Strauss's The Blue Danube in the background, which sounds like the computer from 2001: A Space Odyssey malfunctioning. If you guys don't know, the Blue Danube is the one that goes na 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 na, and it's featured in that movie, which I've literally just been thinking about watching because I've never seen it, and I've been watching a bunch of space movies recently. Continuing on, I'd be interested to know if any of the listeners have any similarly retro or even more modern Go video games that they enjoy. The only other one I've played is a Hikaru no Go game for the Game Boy Advance, which, as you can imagine, was pretty adorable. I've always been curious about that game. I know that exists, that there is a Hikaru no game. I was always wondering whether it was made well and whether it was challenging, what level it was made for. But I thought that would be cool. The one game that I have played is Just Go, which is a beautiful game. It's on Steam, and it has 3D rendered stones, and some people like to use it as an OGS interface, but it also has a career mode, which is interesting. You get basically matched up with bots of different levels, and you advance your career. Honestly, I can't really get myself interested in playing bots for too long, so I didn't stick with the game too much, but it was very well made and very polished. And then obviously there's other games that I know have been released, such as like the Conquest of Go, which I've heard good things about as well. One last thing, I've heard you talk about Correspondence Go a few times, and it always surprises me that Correspondence Go isn't taken more seriously and isn't even an option on the Asian Go servers. I started playing Correspondence Go out of necessity. I had 2 very young children, and live games just weren't feasible. But I was also inspired by reading The Master of Go, a book I know impressed you deeply as well. Reading about a time when games could be played over weeks and months, and players allowed to mull over moves for hours or days when necessary, really made me feel like the correspondence format is perfect for Go. I only play 2 games at a time, and I love really living with the game for a couple of months while the story slowly unfolds. So about Correspondence Go, I actually thought the exact same way. So I would be playing Correspondence Go, and thinking about how people used to play Go over very long periods of time, I thought, hey, Correspondence Go is really like the modern version of that. You can take so much time with each move, and it's kind of mirroring that, and it feels like a very pure form of Go in that sense where you don't feel pressured by time to play. But I do think that many people consider Correspondence Go not to be the best way to learn, especially at certain stages of your development, and I think I kind of agree with that. I think it should be taken more seriously, and I am surprised that it's not offered on the Asian Go servers. I'm wondering why, whether there's no demand for it, whether people just don't find that interesting. But I think some of the Asian, Go players, they do hop on over onto OGS and they start playing there for whatever reason. And so Correspondence Go, I don't know. I love it. I can't just have 2 games going on though, like you. Like, I think you can focus a lot more just by having a couple games. But I'm constantly checking my phone for the next move, so I'm always opening it up and seeing if I can play another move, and I'm not always 100% focused for that move. I think that's the problem, is that if I were to really take Correspondence Go seriously, like they did in the ancient times, I would choose a specific time of day that I would always check my moves, and I would think deeply about it every time. That's not always the case. Sometimes I play a quick move before bed. Sometimes I get home from work or not work. I don't commute from wherever, and I play a quick move and I go in, and that sometimes I pay for it. So you have to be careful, and maybe that's why it may not be considered as serious of a game mode if you have 100 Correspondence Go games going at once and you're just kind of mindlessly playing through all of them. I don't have 100, I have maybe like 10. So, but I do want more. I want more Correspondence games going. So I'm just trying not to overdo it, because it can ramp up sometimes and get out of control. You gotta have a good rate. But continuing on, I am only a measly OGS 9K, so I don't want to give the impression that my approach to these games is in any way superior. I'm just surprised it isn't more popular. Thanks again for the podcast. It is always such an enjoyable listen. All the best, Michael. Thanks so much for writing in, Michael. 9K is quite an accomplishment in and of itself, and believe it or not, to some of the listeners, you may not know, the OGS server started off as a correspondence server, so it is really the home of the correspondence games, and I think it is really popular. If you go and search random accounts on OGS, you'll find a lot of accounts with basically only correspondence games. So I think it's, there's different folks who enjoy correspondence versus those who do not. I'd like to know if you guys do correspondence games, or if there are any of you out there who just never play correspondence, because I feel like as a Go player, that's something that it's just such an easy way to enjoy Go in your life, because you can just make time for it whenever, and if you don't have time to play full games all the time. Anyway, thanks so much again for writing in, Michael. Mommy Claire Yang writes, like your podcast, keep it up. Thanks for writing in. And Farran writes, Atomic Bomb Game, first one, August 4 to 6. The participants would come to shape Go for generations. The referee, whose son died that evening in his arms, would teach the first Koreans in Japan and reach out internationally. Iwamoto would set up centers in Europe and the US. Hashimoto built the Kansai Keen, and in the process kicked the Neon Keen forward. I have a weak spot for that game. Take care. Thanks for the insights, Farran. That's I think I mentioned the Atomic Bomb game in the Girl of Go, the Girl Who Played Go episode, and it's such an interesting, dramatic game, and such an interesting situation and scenario in our history. Our history as Go players, I guess. And I find that game very interesting, and I think that it's very interesting that you brought this stuff up about how the players and participants in and around that game would reach out to other players and affect other people. And so I do want to make an episode on that if I can do the right research on it. So thanks again for writing in, Fran. And for the question of the week, I want to ask you guys if you've ever encountered a cheating incident yourself. whether it was live or on the internet, whether it's suspected or confirmed. How did you handle it and what happened? I want to know. So if you want to share your thoughts on this question, or if you have a story about Go to share with me, or have a question you want to ask me, you can comment on YouTube or the Reddit post for this episode, or email me directly at startpointbaduk@gmail.com. That's startpointbaduk@gmail.com. And if you're a YouTube listener, I would greatly appreciate a like and or subscribe. And if you're a podcast listener, reviews and ratings also help. A very special thank you to Jeffrey H. and Tristan H. for supporting Startpoint. And sometimes when you're learning a new lesson and skill, it's good to repeat that proverb or lesson in your head as you encounter each situation, because it helps you really verbalize that thought and make it concrete. For example, if you are learning to play away from thickness, you can see the situation where there's thickness and just tell yourself aloud, play away from thickness, and it can really drive home that point in that situation. And so likewise, I found a new way to deal with solicitors. Whenever someone walks up to me to try to sell me something and just, their casual opener, hey, how are you doing today? I just tell myself, that's not Sente, and I keep walking. Thanks for listening, and keep playing Go.